So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about personal branding, which is a really important part of developing a professional persona. And it's something that you want to do for the job market because it's a way of marketing yourself, a way of selling yourself to potential consumers, which are, in this case, possible employers. So what's a personal brand? Well, basically, a personal brand is the set of ideas or the set of associations that you want individuals to have when they think of you. So you want people, when they think of you, to think of a certain set of qualities or a certain set of skills or a certain set of virtues or whatever it is. Something like this. Something that is coherent, something that is focused, something that is relevant to the field that you're in, etc., etc. So let's say, for instance, that you are a graphic designer. One personal brand that you might develop is the innovative, tech-savvy designer. So the idea here then becomes that you want to build your career around that idea and you want to shape your job materials around that idea. So you want your resume to be innovative. You want it to show unique designs. You want your application letter or cover letter to be interesting and engaging and show that creativity. You may want to do a digital resume or a digital cover letter, something that's tech-based. So that idea of like innovation, newness, thinking outside the box, that's one type of personal brand. I've known people, for instance, like ROTC or veterans who have built their personal brand around the idea of leadership and service. So that's something, again, they're picking up on something that they do or something that they're very associated with, and they're using that as the sort of core idea. Other personal brands may be being very traditional, very formal, very conservative about the way that you sort of approach business. And this may be really attractive to, say, high-profile law firms, accounting firms, these more sort of traditional style businesses that may want someone who's a bit more straight-laced. My application materials for jobs, for instance, are built around the idea of teaching students to think strategically about the choices that they're making. So this idea of assessing your audience and figuring out what's going to persuade them. This kind of thing where you're sort of saying, all right, what's going to be my personal brand? What do my experiences point me toward, and how do I create a coherent narrative out of that? So that's essentially the kind of thing that you want to do. And that personal brand, that sort of brand identity, comes out of my teaching practice, which is very much, I had a student say to me the other day he asked a question about rhetoric or about rhetorical choices, and he said, I imagine your answer will be, it depends, which is exactly right. And so this is the way that you want to approach personal branding, is you want to figure out what you already do or what you already have, and then figure out what that means for employers. So again, to take my own example, my teaching practice largely ends up being, you have to make these choices based on what's going to work for your reader, how you want to achieve the particular goal you're trying to achieve, what rhetorical tools you have at your disposal, what kinds of evidence you have available, etc., etc. So for me, that idea of like, I teach students to make strategic choices is not something that I sort of consciously sat down and said, aha, this is a good brand identity and I want to pursue this. It's something I looked at myself, I looked at my own practice, I looked at the things that I do, and I said, here's a common thread, here's a central idea, here's how I can express that in my job materials. And so that's the kind of thing that you want to do. So if you are a design person, what kind of designs do you do? If you are an accounting person, what's your approach? What makes you interesting? And one of the things that you may find is that your brand may come from somewhere outside of your sort of professional sphere. So a lot of people, for instance, will draw on leadership positions that they've had. Again, ROTC people, veterans, but also people who've been leaders in fraternities or sororities, people who've been leaders in clubs or organizations, things like this. You can draw on other types of experiences that are not professional or academic. You want to just make sure that you're tying that to your professional experiences, and that those things connect with the way that you're presenting yourself as a job candidate. The other thing that you want to be aware of, or the other thing that, I guess the thing that you really want to avoid as a personal brand, and I have seen students do this, so this is, I mentioned this out of my own experience, do not say that your personal brand is a student. Or do not, more specifically for my students, you don't want to say that your personal brand is as a Penn State student. While that may be somewhat impressive in terms of acquiring an education, the thing that you want to remember is that employers are not looking to hire a student. They're looking to hire an employee. They're looking to hire a professional. And so if your personal brand is centered around, I'm a Penn State student, you're not selling yourself as an employee, as a colleague, as a coworker, etc., etc. You're selling yourself as someone who is in the preparation phase for a professional career, but who hasn't yet reached that professional career stage. So you don't want that to be your personal brand, even if you are a student. Sometimes you can get away with that for something like an internship where they require you to be a student, but even then, they're not, for the most part, looking for a student as such. They're looking for someone who will be a worker for that internship who also happens to be a student. It does happen, but it's very rare that people are seeking out interns specifically to have them be students. So you want to think about your professional identity, and you want to think about what you can bring to the workplace. What do you do that's unique and that's going to make you a valuable asset to the company that's potentially going to hire you? And you build your personal brand to answer that question. You build your personal brand based on the experience that you have, the background that you have, the work that you've done in the past, and so on and so on. Figure out what's unique about you and how you tell this story to make yourself look like a valuable hire, a valuable asset.